Thousands of years ago, Egypt was home to one of the richest and most notable civilizations the world has ever seen. The West Bank of the River Nile remains home to the world's most iconic monuments, the mighty pyramids of Giza. Although ancient Egyptian civilization lasted for nearly 3,000 years, its kings only built huge tombs like these for a few centuries, and these pyramids once housed the bodies of the pharaohs. Egyptian art and culture continues to fascinate people even today, with one of the ancient nation's impressive legacies continuing to be its majestic pyramids. Egypt has over 100 pyramids scattered across different locations, and for Egyptologists and tourists alike, the pyramids are a sight to behold. But why did the pharaohs decide to build these pyramids? More interestingly, why did the pharaohs stop constructing these giant pyramids? What did it cost to put up the most notable Giza pyramids? And how much would these pyramids be worth by present valuation? In today's video, we'd be answering all of these questions and unraveling all that there is to know about these fascinating monuments. You definitely do not want to miss this one, so keep up. Hey there, and welcome yet again to your favorite history channel, where we bring you mind-blowing stories about the most remarkable events, landmarks, establishments, and personalities in history. Make sure to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and smash that notification bell to receive notifications of when we post more fascinating videos like this one. We'd also love to hear your opinions and thoughts about Egypt's Great Pyramids in the comments. Ready? Let's dive in. The Great Pyramids were built at a time when Egypt was one of the richest and most powerful civilizations in the world. The pyramids, especially the Great Pyramids of Giza, were and remain some of the most magnificent man-made structures in history. Their massive scale reflects the unique role that the pharaoh or king played in ancient Egyptian society. The Great Pyramid of Giza is perhaps the most colossal single building ever erected on the planet and is the most prominent of the Egyptian pyramids. It remains a defining symbol of Egypt even till this day, and is the last and only surviving structure of the famed Seven Wonders of the ancient world. Although pyramids were built from the beginning of the Old Kingdom to close to the Ptolemaic period in the 4th century, the peak of pyramid building began with the 3rd dynasty of Egyptian pharaohs and continued until roughly the 6th. This was a period during which Egypt enjoyed tremendous economic prosperity and stability, and kings held a unique position in society. More than 4,000 years later, the Egyptian pyramids still retain much of their majesty, providing a glimpse into the country's rich and glorious past. The historic pyramids of Giza are today considered the Great Pyramids of Egypt, and there are 3 4th dynasty pyramids erected on the rocky plateau on the west bank of the Nile River, near Giza in northern Egypt. The 3 pyramids are designated Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure in correspondence to the names of the kings for whom they were built. The northernmost and oldest pyramid of the group was built by Khufu, the 2nd king of the 4th dynasty. It is particularly called the Great Pyramid as it is the largest of the 3 pyramids, with a length of each side at the base averaging 230 meters, and its original height being 147 meters. The middle pyramid was built for Khafre, Khufu's son, the 4th of the 8 kings of the 4th dynasty. The structure measures 216 meters on each side and was originally 143 meters high. The southernmost and last of the Great Pyramids to be built was that of Menkaure, Khufu's grandson, the 5th king of the 4th dynasty, with each side measuring 109 meters, and its height at completion being 66 meters. These pyramids were collectively designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1979. All 3 pyramids were plundered both internally and externally in ancient and medieval times. As a result, the grave goods originally deposited in the burial chambers are missing, and the pyramids no longer reach their original heights as they've been almost entirely stripped of their outer casings of smooth white limestone. The Great Pyramid, for example, is now only 138 meters high. Mortuary temples were constructed near each of the Great Pyramids, with each one linking to the Valley Temple on the edge of the Nile floodplain. Also, smaller pyramids were constructed close to the Great Pyramids and were used for the burials of other members of the royal family, most notably the wives of the pharaohs. The pyramid's smooth and angled sides symbolized the rays of the sun and were designed to help the pharaohs' souls ascend to heaven and join the gods, particularly the sun god Ra. Ancient Egyptians believed that when the king died, part of his spirit remained with his body, and to properly care for his spirit, the corpse was mummified with everything that the king would need in the afterlife buried with him, including gold vessels, food, furniture, and other offerings. Approximately 2.3 million blocks of stone, averaging about 2.5 tons each, had to be cut, transported, and assembled to build Khufu's Great Pyramid, which remains a masterpiece of technical skill and engineering ability. Egyptologists using archaeological evidence dug up around the site of the Great Pyramid have suggested that the workforce for its construction might actually have been around 20,000 men, who worked for a 20-year period. Until the Eiffel Tower was completed in Paris, France in 1889, the Great Pyramid was the tallest structure made by human hands in the world, a record it held for over 3,000 years and one which seemed unlikely to be broken. The ancient engineering feats of the Great Pyramids at Giza were so impressive that even today, scientists aren't exactly sure how the pyramids were built. Modern scientists and archaeologists continue to learn much about the people who built them and the political power necessary to make it happen. Archaeological digs on the fascinating site have revealed a highly organized community, rich with resources, and which must have been backed by a strong central authority. Archaeologists have suggested that ancient Egyptian communities likely contributed workers, food, as well as other essentials for what was to become a national project to display the wealth and control of the ancient pharaohs. The entrance to the Great Pyramid is on the north side of the structure and is about 18 meters above ground level. The interior begins from a sloping corridor which descends through and penetrates the rocky soil on which the structure rests, and ending in an unfinished underground chamber. Pyramids continued to be built throughout the 5th and 6th dynasties, but the general quality and scale of their construction declined over this period, along with the power and wealth of the kings themselves. Historians believe the construction of the pyramids were usually supervised by the second most powerful men in Egypt at the time, known as the viziers. The Great Pyramid is recorded to have been constructed under the supervision of Khufu's vizier, who was named Hemiunu and who also happened to be the pharaoh's nephew. The vizier was the final architect of any pyramid building project and had to delegate responsibilities for materials, transport, labor, payments, and any other aspect of work. There are written receipts, letters, diary entries, official reports, and other records from the palace, all of which made clear the scale of the great building project that was accomplished at Giza under Khufu's reign. But not one of these pieces of evidence suggests exactly how the pyramid was built. The technological skill evident in the creation of the Great Pyramid therefore still mystifies scholars, archaeologists, and engineers, even in this present technological era. The Great Pyramid, even as it is today in its badly weathered state, still inspires awe. The labor used in the construction of the Great Pyramids is believed by Egyptologists to have comprised of both skilled and unskilled workers who were hired by the king for the project. These workers either volunteered their efforts to pay off a debt, for community service, or were compensated for their time. Although slavery was an institution practiced in ancient Egypt, no slaves were used in creating the monument. Historical records show that at the time of the ancient pharaohs, Egypt annually experienced a 2-month period when the Nile's water overflowed and covered all of Egypt's arable farmland, and idling virtually the entire workforce. During such times, a pharaoh offered food for work and the promise of a favored treatment in the afterworld where he would rule just as he did in this world. So for 2 months annually, workmen gathered by the tens of thousands from all over the country to transport the blocks a permanent crew had quarried during the rest of the year. The viziers organized the men into teams to transport the stones on sleds, which were better suited than wheeled vehicles for moving weighty stones over shifting sand. He also supervised a causeway which was heavily lubricated by overflowing water from the Nile, which smoothed the uphill pull of the stones as the pyramids went high into the sky. Even with the cranes, helicopters, tractors, and trucks at our disposal today, it'd be highly difficult to undertake a reconstruction of the Great Pyramid of Giza today. Aside the difficulty, it'd also cost a fortune, with the only advantages a modern reconstruction would have being a much faster completion time and a much lesser workforce. Engineers have estimated that it would cost a staggering $5 billion to replicate this wonder of the ancient world. While the ancient structure took 20,000 men to construct, the estimated workforce count for a modern reconstruction has been calculated to be around 1,500 to 2,000 men, with a completion time frame of 5 years. And while $5 billion is a sum any of the world's multi-billionaires can afford to spend on buying the Great Pyramid, it's now a global monument and as such would never be put up for sale.